These are three things that I wished someone warned me about being a nurse practitioner. These are three things that I wish someone told me 10 years ago when I was in nurse practitioner school or I was graduating nurse practitioner school. And this would have saved me so much headache and so much heartache. And if you're a nurse practitioner or a medical provider, then I hope this saves you headache and heartache. Hi, for those of you who are new here, my name is Nicole Jean Liu, and I am a rheumatology nurse practitioner. And I help other nurse practitioners and medical providers make medicine meaningful and wake up excited to go to work and see patients. Let's do this. Number one thing that I wish people warned me about being a nurse practitioner, it's going to be harder than you think. It's going to be harder than you think. Practicing medicine is really, really hard. And, for example, an analogy, you really get told things like marriage is hard or having kids is hard, but you don't really understand how hard it is until you're in the thick of it. I'll give you a personal example. And without trying to get too personal here on the internet, it's really hard to balance marriage and parenthood and parenting, you know, making time for your child, but also making sure you're there emotionally for your spouse as well. And it's so easy to overlook maintaining the emotional aspect of your relationship with your spouse when you're so busy. You're so busy with work, seeing patients, trying to get home on time to make dinner for your family, get your toddler into bath time, then bedtime, so that you can finally relax and just put up your feet. And it's so hard. It's so hard when you're so exhausted. You just want to hurry and do all these things, all these physical to dos. But people are emotional creatures. People have emotions. And it's so important to check in emotionally with your spouse to make time for date nights or one on one quality time. Like, it's just really hard with all the responsibilities we have as an adult. And it's not so easy to, and it's so easy to just skip over it and not worry about the emotional maintenance of your marriage. And so it's the same in medicine. Practicing medicine is really hard. I remember when I was in school, in nurse practitioner school, I was excited. I was green eyed. I was so excited I was all, very childlike. I was just excited to absorb and learn all the information I could learn and just really be like a sponge, absorb as much as I could around me from all my preceptors. And I viciously bombarded people with questions. I took notes in my notebook. But once I started practicing medicine, it's completely different. I had my own panel of patients. I had to bill and code correctly to insurance companies with my chart notes. I had to reply and respond to patient messages in the health portal. I had to monitor my productivity and my RVUs and quality metrics for reimbursement and compensation. And none of these things you're taught this in school. You're never taught how to balance this, how to do all of these things in school. And practicing medicine is not like the exciting medical dramas you see on TV, like Grey's Anatomy or The Good Doctor, where, you know, everyone, all the doctors, all the nurse practitioners, all the nurses, they spend all day talking about their drama. No one seems to be documenting their notes, and health diseases seem to be solved within less than 60 minutes of an episode. And patients watch medical dramas too, and because of that, the media, patients expect a magic cure, just like that, really fast, just a magic pill, a magic cure. And sometimes it's really hard to explain to patients that we have to order tests and imaging and lab tests, and it may take a while to figure out what's going on, what's causing your symptoms. And even sometimes it's really just a process of elimination in medicine, where you have to see several specialists for your joint pain or for what's going on, and it's rehashing your story over and over again and not getting tired of that. For example, I deal with a lot of elderly people and their arthritis. And this one woman I had, such an interesting woman, a woman in her 70s, and she used to be a professional clown. A professional clown. What a cool job that is. She used to be a professional clown, and after years, decades of working at a circus as a professional clown, and has left her with a body full of joint pain and osteoarthritis. And it's truly a skill set as a nurse practitioner, as a medical provider, to talk to patients and convince them that there is life after. I'm using air quotes if you're listening to the podcast, but after the prime of your life or the golden years of your life when, you were at your most physically fit state. And then now you have chronic joint pain that we can't 100% resolve, but there is still life after this phase in your life. And it's worth taking medication to ease the pain and to promote well being in the rest of your life. And a lot of patients I work with are going through an identity crisis because they're going from different phases of their life to another, like we're from working to retirement. And it really takes a skill set to be able to convince people and talk to people going through that phase. And I wish someone warned me as a nurse practitioner that it's going to be harder than you think because you will interact with so many people from so many different backgrounds, from so many different cultures and nationalities, and so many different beliefs that you need to learn how to be flexible. Which leads me to my second point that I wish someone had warned me as a nurse practitioner. It's going to be better than you think. It's going to be better than you think. I wish someone had warned me that being a nurse practitioner is going to be better than you think. As a mom, I often feel guilt. Either I feel guilt as a mom when I'm taking care of patients and I'm not taking care of my son, or the opposite and vice versa. I feel guilt as a nurse practitioner if I'm taking care of my son, of my family, and I'm not seeing patients or I'm not answering patient messages. But the truth is that being a nurse practitioner makes me a better mom. Being a nurse practitioner makes me a better mom. I listen better. I empathize better. I'm just a better human. For example, my son is 3.5 years old. He's this beautiful 3.5-year-old boy, and he loves trains, airplanes, garbage trucks, any vehicle, you name it. That is his jam. That is the phase he's in right now. And while that's really cute and so adorable, and there's literally vehicle toys all over our house, the problem is that when we transition to a different activity that is less desirable, like going from playing with his toys to eating dinner time or bath time, he gets it gets challenging to make that transition in activities. And when you're 3.5 years old, you don't really have the skill set or the brain development to calmly and rationally explain your frustration and your impatience and why are we changing the activity. And so, as a 3.5-year-old, what do? You have a temper tantrum. You have a meltdown. And he goes running to his room and crying with his stuffed animals. And, being a nurse practitioner has helped me develop a degree of patience that I didn't really have before. I mentioned earlier that as a nurse practitioner, you'll encounter and interact with so many different people from so many different backgrounds, so many different belief systems that it really means that, and different types of people require different ways of communicating and they have different goals. And so, some patients don't want to take medications. I work in rheumatology, and some patients will take several visits, several weeks, several months, sometimes several years to persuade them to take a medication that will put their rheumatic disease in remission, and that will resolve their joint pain and prevent irreversible bone damage and decrease their risk of long-term organ damage or cancer. And being a nurse practitioner has taught me to listen, to empathize, and to communicate expertly. And that spills into my personal life. I am more calm when my toddler has a meltdown. I am more patient to wait for him to calm his body, to cry it out before I go talk to him. And I mean, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm still figuring things out. There are days that I am so impatient and I'm stressed out. I want to pull my hair out. And I just have to step away for a moment to calm my body so I can be an emotional anchor for my son. I'll admit, like, I don't have everything figured out, but definitely as a nurse practitioner, it's made me a better mom. It's made me a better parent. And I wish someone warned me as a nurse practitioner, all those thousands, millions of micro moments, of micro interactions with patients has helped me prepare for those thousands, millions of micro moments and micro interactions with my son. And practicing medicine has prepared me for practicing motherhood. And practicing motherhood has helped me prepare for practicing medicine. Which leads me to my third point that I wish someone had warned me as a nurse practitioner. If you are a medical provider in today's era of fast paced medicine, you must be a master in connecting with your patient in the shortest amount of time possible. No one warned me that being a nurse practitioner in today's era of medicine means learning how to work fast paced, means learning how to think quickly, how to make decisions quickly, how to write your notes quickly, and especially it means how to communicate quickly with your patients. And that's no easy feat. That is no easy feat. I'll tell you an example. I started off as a rheumatology nurse practitioner straight out of NP school. I was a new grad and I was excited to dive into the world of rheumatology. And, there's always something new going on. There's new medications on the horizon every year or two. There's always something new. There's a new study. It's just such a field that no one really fully comprehends still. And that's what excited me about it for some reason. And I was fascinated and I was so excited to dive into rheumatology. But at the same time of that excitement, there was chaos. There was chaos. Within the first like 5 years, I worked as a brand new rheumatology nurse practitioner. I was practicing and I was also learning rheumatology at the same time. I would go home and study books every night. In my rheumatology clinic, I went through 8 rheumatology doctors and I covered 7 separate maternity leaves. Yes, during my first 5 years as an attending brand new rheumatology nurse practitioner who didn't know everything about rheumatology, was still learning, I covered our clinic and bridged the care of thousands of patients amidst the coming and goings of 8 rheumatology doctors, and I covered 7 separate maternity leaves. And I can tell you for a fact that when you're a patient with an autoimmune disease that causes chronic joint pain every day of your life, and your rheumatologist up and leaves, or there's a rotating door of rheumatologists coming and going, as a patient, you feel 3 things. You feel 3 things. One is you feel abandoned. You feel incredibly abandoned by your rheumatologist, by the healthcare system. And if you feel abandoned, that leads to feeling betrayed. You feel immensely betrayed. And can you guess what that leads to third? If you feel abandoned and betrayed, what is the third emotion you feel? You feel distrustful. You feel incredibly distrustful. And guess who gets to knock on the exam door and walk into an instantly distrustful patient? I do. And I will tell you, when working with distrustful patients who you didn't do anything to deserve their distrust, it truly makes working a nightmare. It feels like a nightmare. I mean, I went to sleep every night for at least a couple years. I cried myself to sleep every night because I dreaded waking up the next morning and doing it all over again, and having patients yell at me and having patients hang up the phone on me, and being looked down on by patients, being criticized for something that I didn't do. And during those years, I learned something incredibly vital about practicing medicine in today's era. No one warns me as a nurse practitioner, but you must be a master in connecting with your patient within seconds. I mentioned before, you will interact with patients from all different backgrounds, all different cultures, all different beliefs, but that means you need to be able to adapt your social interaction. And that is why we went into medicine. I mean, that we want to help people. That is the core principle of why we go into working with medicine. And the truth is, in order to impact and influence people, you have to know what already influences them. And how people want to feel determines whether others can impact and influence them. And no one warns me as a nurse practitioner as well, but that burnout is commonplace in medicine. But the true way to protect and to strategize against burnout is by talking with your patients. It is. That's how you feel uplifted after a long day at work. That's how you drive home after a long 8, 10, 12-hour shift at work and you're eager to see your family, but you also are driving your car on the freeway and you feel this sense of fulfillment from your work. You feel like I have purpose in my life. That's how you go to sleep excited to wake up and see patients the next day and not dreading your work, which is why I truly believe in my offer, the Knockout Burnout Masterclass. That's my offer to you, and I truly believe in it. I care about you so much. I want you to live the life you love, I want you to live a life that you love what you're doing. I want you to do something that uplifts you and makes you feel valuable. And the truth is, you can knock out burnout by talking with your patients in a very specific way that influences the patient for good. And the real value for you is that you can feel valued by your patients, by that you're making a difference. And that's what we all want to feel at the end of the day and at the end of our lives, really. And so the link to join the next round of the Knockout Burnout Masterclass is down below in the show notes or the description box. And I invite you. You are invited to join the next round of the Knockout Burnout Masterclass and start building the life you want and start feeling fulfilled by your work and that you're making a difference in people's lives, that you have purpose in your work. All right. I hope this episode was helpful for all my new nurse practitioners, my practicing and veteran nurse practitioners. Remember why we went into this. Practicing medicine is not easy, but so it is so powerful working in medicine, and it is something so special that not a lot of people have the opportunity to do, to interact and impact people and influence people for good and making their life better. I hope this episode was helpful. I love you all, and I will see you all on the next episode.